What happens when a national beauty icon is unmasked as the face of the country's most explosive identity fraud investigation? In mid-2024, 23-year-old Chidimma Adetshina was on top of the world. She had advanced to the final stages of the prestigious Miss SA pageant. She was elegant, articulate, and fiercely supported by a growing base of fans. But behind the flashing cameras and glittering evening gowns, a silent storm was brewing inside Pretoria offices of the Department of Home Affairs. A simple public inquiry into her heritage sparked an institutional audit that would shake South Africa's legal system to its very core. By the end of that year, that fairy tale was over. Chidimma wasn't just stripped of her Miss South Africa eligibility, her entire citizenship, her identity documents, and her passports were systematically annulled. Fast forward right now in July 2026, Chidimma Adetshina is sitting inside the wooden docks of the Cape Town Regional Court. She is not wearing a tiara. She is fighting a desperate state order to have her forcefully deported from the country she has called home since birth. This is no longer a story about a beauty pageant. This is a story of stolen identities, porous borders, and a newly aggressive Department of Home Affairs led by Minister Leon, determined to make a public example out of an international celebrity. Why is South Africa so desperate to deport her? To understand the government's intensity, we have to uncover a 22-year-old crime that victimized an innocent South African mother. The root of this legal warfare traces back to a hospital registry in 2001. Chidimma was born in Soweto to a Nigerian father and a Mozambican mother. Under the South African law, simply being born on South African soil does not automatically grant you citizenship. At least one parent must be a legal citizen or permanent resident. According to official forensic findings released by Home Affairs, Chidimma's Mozambican-born mother, Annabella Rungo, allegedly committed a severe and calculated act of identity fraud. The state alleges that in 2001, she illegally assumed the identity of an innocent, unsuspecting South African woman to fraudulently register Chidimma's birth. For 22 years, this administrative fraud lay buried beneath layers of bureaucratic paperwork. Chidimma grew up utilizing this fraudulent citizenship to access state benefits, secure university bursaries, open bank accounts, obtain a driver's license, and travel internationally. But true crime always has a victim. While Chidimma lived out the privileges of citizenship, the real South African woman whose identity had been hijacked was trapped in a living nightmare, because another child had been registered under her identity. This innocent woman was flagged by the system. She was blocked from accessing state resources, faced immense banking hurdles, and when she gave birth to her own biological child, the South African government refused to register the infant because her identity profile was completely corrupted by a stranger. This was not a victimless administrative glitch. It was a devastating crime that stole a citizen's life. When Chidimma entered the Miss South Africa stage in 2024, the public instantly noticed the distinct Nigerian surname. Patriotic outcries erupted across South Africa's social media, with citizens demanding to know how someone with that surname was representing the nation. Yielding into intense public pressure, the Department of Home Affairs launched an emergency investigation. Within weeks, they uncovered the prima facie evidence of her mother's 2001 identity theft. With the spotlight burning too bright, Chidimma withdrew from the Miss South Africa in August 2024. But instead of fading into obscurity, the narrative took a highly publicized cinematic turn. Chidimma left South Africa. She flew straight to Lagos, where she was invited to participate in the Miss Universe Nigeria competition. She didn't just participate, she won the crown. Months later, she stood on the global stage at the Miss Universe pageant, finishing as the first runner-up in the entire world. She was suddenly a celebrated international star, heavily backed by Nigerian media and corporate sponsors. Yet back in Pretoria, the South African authorities felt humiliated. a person whose entire legal existence in their country was built on identity theft, had just used the platform to achieve a global superstardom. In late 2024, Home Affairs officially revoked the IDs and travel documents of both Chidimma and her mother, formally declaring them as prohibited persons under the Immigration Act. They were banned from ever holding a South African visa or permit again. The legal drama escalated sharply in May 2025 when South African border authorities tracking the family intercepted and arrested Chidimma's mother, Annabella Rungu. Investigators discovered she had quietly stayed in the country using an alternative Mozambican passport, completely defying her undesirable status. The state was aggressively closing the net around the family, but the ultimate climax occurred in June 2026, just recently. Despite being a prohibited person banned from entering the South African territory, Chidimma Adetshina quietly slipped back across the border. According to border tracking reports submitted by immigration officers, she allegedly used her newly acquired Nigerian passport to present herself at the busy Lebombo border post along the Mozambican line. She attempted to bypass the system, bypassing her visa restrictions. She thought she could remain under the radar, but in the era of social media, anonymity for a global celebrity is impossible. Sightings of the beauty queen began circulating online. On June 6, 2026, acting on a precise tip-off, South African immigration officials and the South African police services executed a raid at a residential home in the quiet suburb of Summer Greens, Cape Town. Chidimma was found, detained and placed under arrest for being an undocumented illegal foreign national unlawfully residing in the Republic. By July 2026, the battleground shifted from the streets to the Cape Town Regional Court. This civil and criminal standoff has paralyzed the court schedule, with both sides refusing to back down. The Department of Home Affairs has brought an urgent application demanding a formal court confirmation of Chidimma's detention for the explicit purpose of immediate deportation. The state's argument is unyielding. Chidimma Adetshina holds zero valid South African documentation. She has violated a standing prohibition order and she possesses alternate citizenship via her Nigerian passport. To the state, she is simply an illegal foreigner who must be removed to preserve the integrity of the border. But Chidimma's defense team has launched an incredibly aggressive counter-offensive. They have submitted a massive multi-page affidavit to the Western Cape High Court, simultaneously fighting the deportation order and challenging Minister Leon's decision to strip her of her status. Chidimma's lawyers argue that she is not a standard foreign national flight risk. She was born and raised in South Africa. It is the only home she and her minor son have ever known. Her legal team argues that she was an infant in 2021 and she had absolutely no idea or control over the fraudulent actions committed by her mother. They contend that punishing a child for the administrative crimes of a parent is a gross violation of human rights. So why is the South African government pushing so hard? Why not just grant her a specialized visa given her international status and modeling career? The answer lies in the intense political climate surrounding immigration in South Africa. For years, the Department of Home Affairs has been heavily criticized by the public and opposition parties for allowing syndicates, corruption, and identity fraud to rot the National Registry from within. Fake passports and bought citizenships have long compromised national security. When Leon took over the ministry, he promised a merciless crackdown on document fraud. Chidimma's case is the ultimate test for his administration. If Home Affairs backs down and allow high-profile celebrity to regularize her status after her documentation was exposed as fraudulent, it sends a message that fame buys immunity from immigration law. The government is desperate for this deportation because they need a landmark case to signal to international syndicates that the days of porous documentation are officially over. Furthermore, the case has ignited a deep-seated societal tensions. Outside the Cape Town Magistrates Court, the scene is highly charged. Groups of nationalist local protesters have gathered around her appearances, chanting and demanding her immediate removal. On the other side, human rights advocates warn that the state is engaging in a xenophobic witch hunt, driven by anti-Nigerian sentiment than pure administrative justice. But how is enforcing the law xenophobic? Doesn't make sense. As it stands right now, the entire case has ground to a dramatic legal impasse. On July 21, 2026, after listening to hours of explosive arguments from both the state's prosecutors and Chidimma's defense, the Cape Town Regional Court has officially reserved its judgment. The magistrate announced that the final binding ruling on the lawfulness of her detention and pending deportation will be handed down next month on August 19, 2026. Behind the scenes, Chidimma has taken to social media, expressing that she is completely exhausted, burnt out and severely depressed by the emotional toll of the continuous court battles. Yet, she maintains a defiant stance, vowing that she is not giving up on her fight to remain in the land of the birth, in the land of the free, in the land of South Africans. If the court rules in favor of Home Affairs on August 19, Chidimma Adetshina will likely be escorted directly from a detention facility to an international flight out of South Africa. If her defense team wins their High Court stay, she could secure a historic legal loophole that redefines citizenship rights for children of undocumented immigrants across the continent. Oh, this will be bad. The countdown to August 19 has begun, and the eyes of two nations, South Africa and Nigeria, are locked on Cape Town. What do you think? Should the Department of Home Affairs apply the law strictly and deport her? Or is Chidimma an innocent victim of her mother's actions who deserves the right to stay? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for our weekly South African true crime files. We'll see you in the next investigation. This is the Hot Seat SA.
Welcome to the fire where the stakes ignite, where the questions burn hotter than the night. No escape once you're locked in the heat. This is your trial on the hot seat. To the fire where the stakes ignite, where the questions burn hotter than the night. No escape once you're locked in the heat. This is your trial on the hot seat. Ticking clocks and a sweat-soaked scene. Can you handle the pressure